But I want to ask you about this duopoly of technology and capital. Right? First of all, do you agree that these two factors, in a way, and the intersection of those two, given what we just discussed about the venture capital industry, which is often at that very intersection, do you feel like these two are like the two most powerful forces in the world today?
Yes, I do. I mean, I think that partly because Wall Street has been regulated since 2008 and the financial crisis, the most interesting and exciting part of international capitalism is definitely, technology. And if we're interested in finance, it's the kind of finance associated with that technology. So, over the last decade or whatever, a venture capital partnership like Sequoia has been far more exciting and dynamic than Goldman Sachs or Morgan Stanley.
And is that fundamentally true also? Is it just that the Sequoias of the world and the venture capitalists and the startup founders tend to be more in the news now, and maybe in some ways Wall Street doesn't mind because maybe it was too much in the news for some time, and now maybe
it's not just a phenomenon of the news coverage. You can see it in stock market valuations. If you look between 2010 and 2020 at the share prices of all the big Wall Street firms, they went up by a fraction of the amount by which tech valuations went up. If you had invested in some combination of Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, and JP Morgan versus putting your money into Apple, you would have made way more from Apple. So I don't. It's not just an impressions thing. It's actually where real value is created.
Fundamentally, value is being created. Which leads me to the other question I want to ask you, which is, you mentioned the power law. Another person I had on the podcast, John Gordon, he wrote a book almost a couple of decades ago about Wall Street, which incidentally he called The Great Game, right? And he and I were having this conversation about whether power has started to shift from Wall Street to the Silicon Valley or Silicon Valleys of the world. Would you agree with that characterization? Has the relative power shifted?
Yeah, look, I do think so because of, this point that Wall Street has been regulated and sort of tamed. And on the other hand, tech, because of Moore's law type effects of sort of exponential growth of the power of the underlying technology, has become more and more dramatic in its progress. And artificial intelligence is just the latest manifestation of that, where, things that were unthinkable 18 months ago before ChatGPT was released have now, they're on everybody's computer screens. And so we really do live in a time of extraordinary technological change.